What were you talking about?
There we go.
All right.
Let's see if I can go live.
Good afternoon. We are going live here with our Syncretize conversation about mission and meaning, dealing a whole lot more with things in the sci-fi world, anime, comic books, whatever your love is, and how does those things bring meaning to us in the world in which we live in and we inhabit as Christians. Today, as normal, I've got my protege here, young Micah Brooks, as well as King Nerd, Pastor Strives. He's a part of all things nerddom. He knows
Jason Todd.
a lot of all of those things. Today, we are missing our fourth member. That would be Pastor Eric. He's not with us today, but it doesn't.
Resident agitator.
That's just you.
I think that's you.
That's just you.
Okay. All right.
But, with that said, we want to be able to invite conversation. If you're with us, just putting everything in here to put us in place for. We are streaming to YouTube right now. And if you are with us on YouTube, you can put questions in as we are going through, or stuff you want us to talk about in the future.
And Twitch.
Relates to our own, and Twitch.
Absolutely.
I don't know the Twitch handle, so you might.
Don't worry about it, brother. You live. Just go ahead and go for it.
All right. I want to add us also on Facebook Live, so I need to jump to the YouTube to share it to Facebook. I believe I can do that from there. So if you're watching on YouTube, you know how we do this. Take our time and we rock it. So we will grab the link, copy.
You just got a whole lot darker on your screen.
Yeah, because my light just went out. It's not staying on now. This is crazy. So we'll brighten it back up in a second. I just want to be able to jump over and drop this in on the Facebook page. So I think you should be able to see it here once I drop it on my Books in Babylon page. So for those of you who are watching via the YouTube channel, you will know that we, this every week, we are on here to talk about something in the nerddom, something in our fandom, and what it means to our existence as Christians. What does it say about us in our own, or how does it inform how we do life as Christians? So we've talked about a number of things, Christ figures and all that kind of good stuff. And we continue the conversation every week. We'll talk about something new. We invite you to give information or even talk about what your interests are. What part of the fandom are you in? Are you an anime lover? Are you a comic book person like me? Are you a sci-fi person like me? If you are into video games like the other two people who are in your screen right now, I'm not so much into that, but whatever those things are, we want to talk about it and what aspect those things and what kind of meaning we grab out of that, and whether or not that meaning that we get it typifies the meaning we actually desire and ache for in the kingdom of God. So if you rock with any of those ways, we invite you to be with us and rock with us through this time. Now for this week, I might have to keep doing this over and over with the light because it is very weird right now.
Temperamental.
But, yeah, it's a temperamental light that I got, so just bear with me. So for this week, however, I've asked my panelists to think about something, and I'm going to ask you guys as well, if you're watching with us on whatever platform you are now watching with us on. Here's the thing. Micah and I and our family last night sat down and we watched a movie. Micah, what was the movie we watched last night?
Onward.
Onward by Pixar. And we had taken a while before we ever actually sat down and watched it. But while we were watching it, Micah kept saying, what did you keep saying, Micah?
I was talking about Zootopia.
Yes, exactly. He kept reflecting on Zootopia. And while we saw some interesting things within the Onward movie as it related to themes of family, loss, feeling left out, or feeling like you are other and not knowing what really matters to you. It got me thinking this morning about Pixar films in general. Most people are, if you've ever watched a Pixar film, you walked away with it going like, man, that was way better than I expected. And if you're an older person, you started thinking about, wait, were they really talking about, or could they have been talking about? So now today we are going to talk about, a question I had, has Pixar been teaching the gospel this whole time and we missed it? So I'm going to invite you with Facebook and with YouTube and with you two guys. Let's go through some movies we might have watched recently or in the distant past, whatever you can remember about them. And let's start walking through whether or not these Pixar movies have been teaching us about God the entire time. Do you think so? Do you think Pixar has been teaching us about God this entire time and we completely missed it? Do you want, let me see if should I be throwing out the movies, guys? Should I?
Yeah.
Well,
Some movie names.
okay, yeah.
Kenny, did you already see Onward? Because I
No, not yet.
go backwards. So I'm not going to start with Onward. We'll go, what's the one before this one? Was that Zootopia? Was that the last one, Micah?
No, because we also saw Inside Out.
But Zootopia came. No,
There's
you know
Frozen.
what it was?
Frozen
Coco.
2.
Oh, can I say something as we get ready to get started in this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so actually I think this is a pretty cool panel, because before there was a Pixar, there was a Disney, and I think Disney started teaching us about different dynamics, if you will, in the spiritual realm. And it is possible that some of us might have missed it.
Okay, but I would rather go with the Pixar because those are more recent, and Disney bought Pixar. So Pixar is now a part of Disney anyway.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
good point.
So that's why I wanted to stick with Pixar movies specifically. And
Just wanted you to know I actually thought about it.
yeah. But I'm gonna go looking at the Pixar movies in order. Now the Pixar movies in order. Let me see list of them. Let me see what you got for me. If we go in order, the first Pixar movie that we know is Toy Story, right? Toy
Absolutely.
Toy Story.
Then there's Toy Story 2.
Andy's coming.
Inc. Then there's Finding Nemo. Then there is the creme de la creme, The Incredibles. Then there was Cars, Ratatouille, Wall-E, Up, Toy Story 3, Cars 2, Brave, Monsters University, Inside Out, The Good Dinosaur, one I never saw.
That did not look interesting at all.
Finding Dory, Cars 3, Coco, Incredibles 2, Toy Story 4, and now Onward. And the next one will be Soul. That'll come out whenever they choose to put it out, depending on how things are going in the world.
So what year are we starting?
1995.
Perfect.
All right, but you don't have to start there. Actually, I gave you the list of all of the movies simply so that we could, you could jump on any one of those. But the idea is, can you check that Facebook feed if it's still going, Kenny?
Absolutely.
Oh, it's Brooks and Babylon. I think
I'm looking at the YouTube one.
my stuff, it keeps slowing down here. So I'm hoping that we're still good. But I just dropped the link in versus trying to push it from here,
I posted about it on Instagram.
like live. So going back to, so if you want to pick a movie and we could talk about the gospel themes that were present in it. So Micah, you were talking about
Zootopia.
right? And we can hit Zootopia real quick. What was something, now we're talking about gospel themes, Micah, not just sociological ones. Because you made a mention of a sociological one last night, but I think we might be able to jump into the gospel as well. What was it about Zootopia that you think was interesting, that would remind you of what God says or what the gospel has?
I think one of the biggest things is like sense of unity, because like at the end of the film, like one of the big things in the film is that it's become pitted where it's us versus them. It's the predators versus the herbivores. And so at the end we get that realization, or not realization, but people start realizing that we can go back to living in harmony, because it wasn't always like predator must catch prey. So I think that's something.
All right. So it would it be safe to say, and it was something we actually talked about last night a little bit as it related to Onward too, that the world was a different place before something was introduced to it.
Yeah.
That changed everything. And we see that same, it's a creation theme. It's what we know of in the Christian circles as Edenic. Started in Eden, and for whatever reason, it got taken away. And from what we understand, that's because sin entered into the world and everything changed. Zootopia gave us this idyllic world where all of the animals work together, and at some point, there was something introduced into that world. And what was it that was introduced? I don't even remember. I think it was a drug.
It was a drug that made predators more violent.
Yeah, it was a now, and in the end, was it really the?
And it was one of the prey that engineered the drug and used it to make the predators more violent, so that everyone would start hating the predators again.
Okay. Now, what was the prey, or the person's ultimate?
It was a sheep, and the sheep's ultimate goal was to have it be prey only. Predators weren't allowed there anymore.
Okay, so they wanted to get rid of a certain segment of their society.
They wanted to go back to how it was initially, where it was prey were one side and predators were another side.
Okay. What you got, Kenny?
No, just tell somebody just hosted the what we're doing here. Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
All right. Nice. Appreciate it. So what one of the other things that Zootopia teaches or is shared with the world was this idea that when people are working together, golly, I'm gonna need to try to get some more light in here. When people are trying to work together, they could accomplish great things and not be stuck on what their previous ideas about a person might be. How do you think that thought process translates to a church way of being, or Christians today?
Well, I mean, like in some churches right now, people are against new people, like trying to become Christians, because they can't get over what they did in their past. And so it's then, you can't be saved because of what you did, even though the whole point of Christianity is that you can be saved no matter what you've done.
Yes. Come on, preach it, boy. Kenny, jump in, man.
Okay, so along with what you said, I'm gonna take this small moment to go back to last week.
Oh God!
And once again, give you, sir, the credit that you deserve, because you are absolutely right. But the point you just made right now is what I was talking about last week. Giving people credit for powers that they don't have doesn't work, because what he said is true. The problem is that when a new person comes in, I'm going to hold their past against them, even if they've been released.
Uh-huh.
So the real issue is the people who were already there.
Uh-huh.
And that could be a telltale sign of how my relationship with God works.
Okay.
I don't feel that I'm forgiven until I do something. Therefore, I'm forgiven, which is wrong because of what you just said. So, with that being said, leaving last week, coming to this week, I think the same could be said about cars as well.
Okay. Talk to me about cars. What's the Christocentric or Christianity idea in cars?
Well, this is an interesting one to me because I saw it based on part of the premise of your book. You see, when Lightning McQueen comes into town, because of who he is, it's his attitude that's causing a problem. He thinks that because of who he is, he can come in, pretty much wreck the town, and should be on his way. Or, this person who has been where he is now before him is not as good as he is. Like, he really thinks he's the first.
Okay.
And it's not until he literally slows down and start to take in what Doc Hudson is trying to teach him that he understands. Oh, I'm not the first. I'm not the greatest. And if I am to be great, I have to be willing to put somebody else before me, which he did in the final race. And I think the Christocentric thing is that quite literally, this is what God did.
Okay.
God came here and put us before his own son.
Right.
So that we might learn the lesson. Hey, I don't forgive simply because I've been told to. I forgive because it first happened to me. I'm not the first person in this position. And our churches would be a haven of joy if we only understood, hey, I don't always have to say I'm sorry. I'm not the first one to do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I slow down a little bit and start to literally see the people around me, then a lot of the things that irk me might just go away.
Just might.
Just might.
If we
and which decreases in reality, what's up, Shadow? Which decreases church hopping because now it's not Radiator Springs that's your problem. You enjoy Radiator Springs. It's your attitude to Radiator Springs that's the problem.
Would it be, but using that same idea of learning, like Lightning McQueen in that movie learned that he had to serve, which is the major Christocentric idea of you will never be able to win in this life if you don't first learn how to serve your brothers and sisters. Your success in this life will always be dependent on your willingness to serve other people. Have you been a servant? Even Jesus himself calls everyone to serve. He says, I did not come to laud over others, but to serve. I didn't come to be a warrior. I've come to serve. He's come that we might have life also and to have it more abundantly. I'm gonna keep having to
that's cool. But you know what? That's an interesting point because when you think about that movie, from the standpoint of service,
yes,
there is a task. Yes, we are. There is a task that he was given to do, and the first time he did it wrong. So, with that being said, it's not just that you serve, it's how you serve.
Okay.
That is also called into question because, like, if everything you're saying is true, I don't serve because I want to, or, because it's just, well, this is just what I like to do. If you don't come in the right character, if you don't come with the right type of service, then your service is nullified because what you're offering nobody's asking for, nobody needs, and it's going to cause more problems than it solves.
Wow.
So, with
Yes.
that being said, when he was able to go back, slow down. Hey, I'm done. So just let me go. No. Let's back up and let's do this again.
Right.
And really, I mean, not to get off of Disney, but Karate Kid.
Pixar? Let's stay focused. Pixar?
Right. No, I'm just saying, but with that, you see where people have to slow down and actually learn how to do it the right way in order for it to actually work. And socially, spiritually, religiously, whatever the case may be, if we are truly offering ourselves to serve, then we have to serve our communities in the way that they need, and serve them in such a way that they stop needing help and they start to help.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we've hit Zootopia so far. We got to Cars. What's another one in our list that if we go that we could jump on as it relates to Pixar's been teaching us the gospel this whole time. How'd we miss it? How'd we miss it? Or maybe we didn't miss it. If you've seen it all the time, you knew it was there, you could jump in. What's that, Kenny?
A Bug's Life.
A Bug's Life. I barely remember that one. Hit me. A Bug's Life. Is that more of a the main character had to become a warrior? He was a nobody. Is that?
Oh, no, that's ants.
That's ants. Okay.
Yes, but Flick is an ant in A Bug's Life.
Okay.
And you know, the thing I took away from this movie that was so great, and you already touched on it actually, is that none of us are going to make it to the finish line alone.
Right.
And you know, there are people who see life and service and spirituality, all this stuff differently than I do. Flick was a radical in his time. You know, he thought of a way to harvest grain in a way where we don't have to do it the old way and all this. Like, he was a visionary. But I found personally that people are very resistant to change.
Yes.
And because of it, we miss out on a lot, not just in life, but from each other. There is so much potential locked inside of people in the church because we insist that things must be done the way they've been done forever.
Wow. And isn't that what we are now engaging in, that Bug's Life theme, that idea that we can't put new wine in old wine skins, that the character of Flick from A Bug's Life is the New Testament church, even the idea that we've moved past what was and we need to start embracing what is so that we can be prepared for what is to come, even in what we're living in right now, going through the situation of this COVID and everyone having to be sheltered in place. And church is starting to look a lot different. We've got to do it differently. And we've got to be technologically savvy enough to be able to connect with our people wherever they are. Gosh, I got to let this thing cool down. I don't know why it's doing this to me. I'm sorry. I'm in the darkness again.
Can I read one of the Twitch comments?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that cool? Okay. A Bug's Life is about a nobody, intentive, creative ant that wishes to be somebody and encountered a circus of exotic insects enjoying their uniqueness.
Okay, that was it?
Yep. So many big words.
Well, see, here's the thing though. And that's an interesting thought.
Shadow Goblin too.
Yeah, that's Shadow. But see, that's an interesting point because when we cannot appreciate the uniqueness, the creative the creative abilities of those that exist within the church, we cause them to want to break out and go elsewhere to find people who are like them via like their characteristics, their vision, versus embracing these people and saying, hey, you know, the gifts that God gave me are not the only gifts that are important in this place. you have a place here too, and we need to work within the church to make sure that we are utilizing all gifts,
right,
rather than just those that have position and those who fall within the rubric of gifts that we like to see. You know, that, I mean, how do we ever become what Christ would have us to become if our eyes only set on not being like these people over here?
right.
I mean, you can't grow like that.
No, you can't. And we tend to put others at a we put the entire enterprise at a disadvantage when we no longer value what is in the group, when we no longer see people's things as valuable. And one of the issues that a lot of times comes up in church is that we stop trying to be creative enough to value people who aren't doing what we traditionally pay attention to in church, which is your speaking gifts, even now your dancing or musical gifts. If you don't have one of those three, the tendency is we marginalize it and we don't get creative on seeing how can we best use what you have for the glory of God. And we're learning, even in the season that we're in now, that what you could do in the building doesn't have the same kind of leeway in growing a community around with people as we made it seem when you were in the building. Does that make sense?
Hey, watch yourself now.
Yep,
because you know, you're right. And the truth of the matter is, and I say this without judgment, you can tell.
Sounds like you're about to judge, though.
Not at all. I'm just saying you can tell by how we have responded to this season that our ministries, our gifts, our uniqueness was very based on being in the building.
Yeah.
Because now without that, who am I? Who are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, now that there's no physical church, are there any other gifts in this place that we can use, or are we just dead in the water because everything rested on the building back there?
Right. That's the challenge. So let's go. What's another Pixar movie we can jump on? Micah, you want to throw one out? Let's see how we can deconstruct it. What the cultural usage of said movie is.
I'm trying to remember the name of this movie. Coco.
Love it.
Whoa. Okay.
That was my jam right there, boy.
You kept playing that song, the songs from that movie, for like a month.
Oh my gosh, because I love that soundtrack.
That soundtrack was good.
Yeah, it is a very good soundtrack.
They killed it with Coco.
They did.
Coco, you'll never be forgotten. It highlighted the idea that we can't forget who people have been in our past. Is that not what we mainly do when it comes to this book, the Bible? I hold it in front of me. Can I see it?
It worked for a second.
Isn't that what we do? What the Bible is about, what Christianity is constantly trumpeting?
Absolutely.
We cannot forget about the carpenter from Galilee. We cannot forget about the dude that was born in Nazareth in a manger. We're not supposed to forget about what has been done for us in the past so that we can move to the future. Come on, Coco.
Hey,
now, let me go back to the first podcast that we did.
Oh,
and this is why no, because this was the point. No, listen, this is the point that I was making. With you and with Eric. That's exactly the point I was making. When you pour into a person, there has to be, if what we are saying about Coco is true, then there has to be some fruit. Michael, let me talk to you for a second.
Yeah.
There's got to be some fruit.
I'm still here.
All these different people in your life who had a positive effect, all this time and energy that they poured into you, there's got to be some fruit that says, I remember you and I won't forget you. If I'm going to the amount of time I spent with your dad, the amount of time I spent working with Eric, if I am not better as a result, then it would have been better had we never met at all.
That's true.
Because in that movie, Coco, especially the way they played it out when a person is forgotten, that was crazy. And I'm like,
that's amazing, right? The idea of forgetting people that they just completely, it's like as if they were never there. I think another idea that is in Coco is the point of making your mark, in knowing that you are whatever your gift is and what you are about, is that you've got to keep pressing toward it. We've got a lot of motivational speakers and folks who will keep talking about what it means. You know, one of our favorite guys, Eric Thomas, talks about execute, 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 and all these other rules for getting the job done. But I think what you find within Coco is the idea that there are things that may prevent you, or something we just talked about in what was one we did after Cars, Bug's Life.
Bug's Life.
Things in your own history that you don't know about that can keep you from moving forward because of the people who are raising you. Coco's parents were not were keeping him. Coco is the boy, right? That was his name?
Yeah. That wasn't his name.
No, what?
The name of the boy wasn't Coco, Dad.
Who was Coco? Coco was the grandma.
I believe so. Let me check some stoofies.
Coco the grandma? I can't even remember who Coco was. I just know I love the movie. Kenny, you staring out a window. Boy,
no, I'm just saying I'm observing my right to remain silent. Anything that I say can be used against me in the court of law. I have the right to an attorney. I'm not going to.
His name was Miguel.
Miguel. Yes. Miguel did not know his full history.
Great-grandma was Coco.
Great-grandma was Coco.
Great-grandma was Coco. Okay. So as he is learning about his history, he's seeing that there was who else played music, who was connected to him, even when he realized that the song that made one man famous was actually from his own family. And that legacy was made manifest in his desire to always want to play, while he was looking at the wrong person for what he wanted to become. Is that right? I hope I'm not mixing that up. But
yeah, you're right.
That's what it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to shut down. I'm gonna be dark for a second. I gotta change my lighting.
It's always dark though,
because this thing keeps shutting off. But it's not hot. But y'all get me, right?
Yeah.
Well, see, you know what I would say along with that is, you know, I understand that, you know, culturally they are using a particular aspect of that culture to teach a lesson. But I also think that lesson holds true for people who are in your life right now who are yet still alive, that you don't want to move through life thinking that as you conquer new worlds, that you need to surround yourself with better people and forget the people who, you know, you were once with. I think the saying is the same, the people you meet going up are the same people you'll meet going down. And that often happens when, you know, we think more highly of ourselves than we should.
Okay.
Once again, I think Coco was and let me throw one in there along with Coco.
Okay.
Ratatouille.
Ooh.
Ratatouille.
See,
Ratatouille,
you see, the rat, because he was a rat, obviously there's certain things you can't be, but that doesn't mean, oh wait, question, would Toy Story somehow relate? Just wondering for the next movie.
Yes.
There is no way there's a fifth Toy Story movie. One.
No, that's not what we're talking about. The next one we talk about, Micah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, see, you know, Remy is a rat who loves to cook.
Yes.
He's able to read.
Anyone can cook.
Right. You know what I'm saying? You got my guy from Everybody Loves Raymond being the chef over there.
Uh-huh.
It's his voice. You can't mix it up. But it's like sometimes
I remember.
And you know, it's so hard to accept, but there's always the possibility that you can still be great by other means. Is he gonna go to chef school? Absolutely not.
It's a rat.
Will he ever run a restaurant? Probably not. But what bearing does that have on his greatness? Nothing. Nothing at all. Because once he was able to meet with someone, listen,
Hey.
once he was able to meet with someone who needed what he had,
Yes.
he didn't allow that to stop him from being everything he dreamed of.
Okay.
And sometimes in life, you might actually have to go out and meet up with somebody that need, because everybody has something that someone else needs. The day and time that we get to a point where there is a somebody who can't do anything for us, now we're just missing out on what makes life great. And sometimes, I mean, in that movie, I think the idea is that greatness can come from low places.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
and it's right there in scripture. Can anything good
come out of?
What you talking about? The best came out of there. Don't let where he comes from have you mixed up about what he has. Because if you don't get what he has,
right,
you ain't gonna have to worry about it. Can anything great come out of Loma Linda?
Mercy. I think we got your point there, brother. So we got Ratatouille down. We talked a little bit about Ratatouille. Greatness can come from small places and small people. We talked a little bit about was that A Bug's Life? We've touched on
Cars.
We've touched on
Utopia.
Do we want to touch anything? Actually, there was something else in Zootopia that we didn't really talk about, which was a social thing, but is also, I believe, a gospel-centric thing or a Christocentric thing. When we think about the idea of the haves and have-nots, that we didn't really focus in on. Micah made a point that he recognized something now that he did not see as a younger kid, simply the idea of the separation, which made him start thinking about the Black experience. That is highlighted because those animals who were labeled as predators, because people believed them to be a certain way, it really didn't matter what they tried to do to better themselves. And when people kept seeing them in that way, everything they did was colored by what people had already believed them to be. So I think that idea sometimes that we can be judges based on our biases is also something that comes through in the Zootopia play. But I just reminded me of the next one that we could talk about, and even Toy Story might have something to do with that as well. Any one of the Toy Stories. Inside Out. Come talk to me a little bit about what is the gospel message coming from the movie Inside Out. I know which one I was gonna jump on, but I'll give you guys the opportunity.
Go ahead, Mike.
Go first.
Man. Can I gotta go second.
Okay.
Well, I will touch on one thing. There's this for example, the Bible says, "My thoughts are not your thoughts, my ways are not your ways. Just as heaven is higher than the earth, so are my thoughts from your thoughts, and my ways from your ways." The emotional roller coaster that this young lady was on. And the movie was meant to highlight her emotions. And as you saw, different emotions would take control, and they were literally fighting within her in order to have control of how she felt and how she moved throughout her day. However, I think that the thing that touched me from that movie, and when it came out, we actually sat down and watched it as a family. And I'm like, you know what? This is documented proof that no one should allow their emotions to dictate how God feels about them. Because if the emotional roller coaster that this little girl was on, because anger and what did she have? She had
Anger,
anger.
disgust, and fear were the main people for a lot of the movie. As joy and sadness got
Yeah.
kicked out of that one spot where it was the control panel.
And I want to let you know Amy Poehler killed it. But she did. Amy Poehler killed it. But it's like, even when we are on an emotional roller coaster, you have to know that whatever emotions you have do not dictate God's feelings toward you. Or, and this is also important, how others feel about you. Now you might feel angry, you might feel disgust, but that doesn't mean because you're having a moment that my attitude towards you has changed either.
Right.
You know, because at the end of the movie, I think it was, we also saw those same emotions have rule in her parents' life.
Right.
So everybody has them.
Everybody.
And it's up to us to learn to love and care as Christ does.
Yeah.
Not as other humans do, because we're all on this roller coaster together. Real quick.
Yeah.
When we were teenagers, we went to amusement park, Kings Island, with some friends. My brother's girlfriend would not ride a roller coaster with him.
Right. With him?
Huh? No.
You wouldn't ride one with him, but you would ride
She
one.
wouldn't ride one with him. She would only ride with me.
Why? Oh, I guess that's why you're telling the story.
I wasn't a nut yet, like he was. She had no sense of security with him, but she felt a sense of security with me. And so where she would ride no roller coaster at all, she was willing to do so with me. I'm saying that to say that when we learn to love and care like Christ, then people who are once unwilling to walk this journey or to walk this path, they might look at you and say, you know what, Dr. Brooks, I'm willing to walk with you because I feel a sense of security with you. It's not that they think you're the one. They're just willing to ride the roller coaster at least with you.
Amen. Well, thank you for keeping that above board. We appreciate that story. Go tell us about
what's going.
Your boy's girlfriend go do with you and not with him. Come on, man.
Oh my God.
No, above board. Hey, but listen, here's what I got to say, or what I'll add to what you just introduced, because I didn't even think about the idea of loving people despite themselves and Inside Out. The thing that I remember or walking away from that movie was the idea that you can never have real joy without pain. Sadness. You're never going to be able to achieve everything you want without sadness being present, or sadness having some aspect of or impact on you. And to try to get through life without ever having to deal with sadness or with pain or with tears is silly. And we're reminded in the book of James that that we should count it all joy when we find ourselves in diverse temptations, when we are going through, because it is the trying of our faith that will develop within us what ultimately will be hope. And we cannot give up on the hope that is present in everyone's life, despite the things that we go through. So that was one of the things that I thought was really good when it related to as we reflect on what Inside Out was all about. All right, so we hit Inside Out, we hit Cars, we hit Zootopia.
Coco.
I lost my Pixar list. So what's the other one, Micah? What did you just say?
We hit Coco, we hit Ratatouille.
You know what? Shadow brings up an interesting one, WALL-E.
WALL-E. The one that was completely silent. Oh, but WALL-E is a good one too. Yes, go ahead.
You know, back when we had a West Coast Youth Conference out here, I was struggling with something one of the speakers said because for whatever reason. But now I get it that especially during this time of a pandemic, I've been preaching from the top of my lungs that good Christians are also good citizens. And good Christians should also be good stewards. When we don't take care of what God has given us, and I am well aware of what's going to happen to this earth when he returns. I don't have a problem with that. What my problem is that up until that moment, you join in with the foolishness of trashing this planet that God has given you to live on. In that movie, if I'm not mistaken, everybody is on a spaceship. The world is so full of garbage that everybody's on a spaceship in easy chairs that float because they can't really walk. That's crazy. But that could also, like, I remember watching that movie, like, you know what, that could actually happen.
Get off your lips.
Like, that could actually happen. I think that could really happen. Not the spaceship part, but the earth being so full of garbage part.
Right.
And, you know, I don't know, you know, do good Christians recycle?
Some do. The good Christians, you know, compost. We've got a person in our house that tries to encourage us to not to use plastic. And to recycle the best way we can. I am not, but I do recognize that there is a responsibility for us to be good stewards in this world in which we are. So yeah, that's a good thing. What are you about to? Why are you nodding your head? What's the matter with you?
I was just saying Greta Thunberg. What she's been pushing.
I don't even know who that is.
Never mind.
Church and Revelation is that the redemptive quality is present in Wali, in that church in the book of Revelation, the church has gotten to such a hypocritical state where Jezebel feels comfortable in the pews. But watch this. And though Christ sees this, he says there is still something there worth saving. And it was mental because when Wali found life on this seemingly lifeless planet, there were other robots and whatnot trying to take it away, saying, no. And he and what's her name? Eve?
Their name is Eve.
Yeah. Had to fight in order to get this information to the ones that matter, saying, hey, there is still something down here worth saving. The answer is not to leave, but to stay here and to take care of what you've been given.
Yes, there's still something worth saving.
Absolutely. So even when your church is at such a hypocritical state where you just throw your hands up and say, I'm out of here because I'm sick of these hypocritical people, Jesus says, hold on. There's still something there worth saving. And he planted you at Juniper Avenue, at Hacienda Heights, not expecting that you go anywhere else because there's something here worth saving. And I need you to fight the good fight until people around here know that there is still life in my church.
Yes, sir.
Please, there's still life in this place.
Life in this place. Boy, you better preach that thing. My God.
That's what happens when you clean out the garage thinking about the questions.
Well, that's good. That's good. So yeah, you can let Shadow know. Thank you for bringing up Wally.
Absolutely.
And let's making sure that Wally got a good.
Oh, I want to hear from you though, because there was one I picked out in particular.
Okay, which
I want to hear from you about Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc. That's the first one, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
No, Toy Story is first.
No,
the
movies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In Monsters University. I don't remember Monsters University, but Monsters.
Me neither.
I do remember. And Monsters Inc. had more to do with facing fear and what it means to I use the example of Moses when it comes to facing fear, because Moses feared Pharaoh and he ran. But one of the things that we find out whenever it comes to fears that we ultimately run away from, that we will always have to come back and face them. And that's what we recognized in the story in Monsters Inc. That Boo, while initially fearful, learned not only to conquer,
thanks for the follow,
but to stand up against those things that would try to create more fear in her. And also there's the idea of creating a family amongst people who are not like you, or people who are not from where you're from, but in her making friends with Sully
and Mike.
That they would go through, they would do everything possible. First, it was to hide her, but then it was to save her so that she could get back to her own family. So I think those are the redemptive or the Christocentric ideas that were in there. And that's off the top of my head what I can remember from that movie. What say you, Brother Ken?
Well, first of all, they were wrong about humans.
They were.
They were absolutely wrong. And I think that goes back to what we were discussing at the top of the podcast, that sometimes you look at people and now let me be clear. I believe that using good judgment is what has kept all of us alive thus far.
Yeah.
Aside from other things that would come in, you have to use judgment. I'm not one of these people that believe, no, just don't judge anything. Just accept things that you see them. If you don't use good judgment, you're going to mess around and get hurt. All right. So with that being said, they're wrong about her. But for me, the thing that I took from it was that there is more power, like socially, if you will. There is more power in joy than there is in fear. See, in the beginning, they were collecting screams to power their city.
Right.
Not understanding that you got more power from laughter than you did from screaming. And when I think back about when you look at any gangster movie, fear has never kept anybody from turning on you. But love will have people stand by you when no one else will.
That's true.
And even though the movie didn't give itself all the way over to love, I think that, intrinsically that love and joy are somehow connected. Hey, man, it's not by scaring people or making people afraid of you that you're going to gain anything.
I'll get the most power.
Right. But see, when you use love, and I think when I watched that movie, it helped me to gain, if you will, confidence in the weapons of my warfare.
Hey,
I've not been given fear, but I have been given love. And if you use it the right way, there's more power in what God has given you than what the enemy is using.
Yes, that's
and
right.
I just felt like once they realized that, then you could see at the end of the movie that there was a change in the factory.
Yeah.
All the big scary monsters are now the operators.
Yeah.
And the smaller, meeker monsters are sent in to get people to laugh.
Yes.
So they could gain more power to power their city.
Yeah.
I really thought that was amazing.
Yeah. So it's not even just the greater is he that is within, but it's God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And when we push away fear, we can actually experience that power, love, and a sound mind, recognizing the things that we were afraid of, we shouldn't be, when we have the ability to engage in God's power and be able to take advantage of what God wants to do in every one of our lives.
Absolutely. So then how dare we any of us, knowing this, not walk around being afraid, but trying to instill fear in other people. You don't know nothing about this. If you have truly given yourself over to God, then you trying to get people to be afraid of you, it never works.
Right.
And it shouldn't work. And you have no business that playing with the enemy's weapons because you don't know how to use them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So we shouldn't.
One other thing that you can notice is that something else that happens in the movie is Mike and Sully are protecting something precious. And there are going to be people who will try to take that precious thing from you. And it's because of that thing that was precious that they were able to learn of this alternate way to power their city. If they had let him, or if they had let this other monster, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but if he had gotten onto this precious thing, then the rest of the city that they knew would have never been the same. And it's because they got this thing that was precious and this information, and they spread it to everyone that they knew, that this city was able to now run faster because of this new source of energy that they found.
Boy, you preaching now, he preaching! Come in here! Come on in here!
Oh man.
Oh man. And with that, whoever was where, we gonna say that's it for this Syncretize. We not gonna say nothing else. Listen, we might come back to this Pixar stuff next week again. Oh, not next week, maybe the week after. Next week is Mother's Day, and I don't know what you guys are gonna be into, but well, you're muted, Ken. Ken, you're muted.
Yeah, your mic's off or something.
Everything's locked down. Ain't nothing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go ahead and take your mother on out to the garage because that's about as far as she can go.
Hey, everybody's gonna do a DoorDash Mother's Day, man.
Woo!
But with that said, listen, if you are watching this on Facebook or even on YouTube
Twitch.
or Twitch, I would love for you to jump on, give us some questions, ideas, what things that we could talk about, your fandom, wherever you are, and let's see what does the Word of God have to say about it. Is this something that we can keep going in the world in which we live today? Everything is trying to teach you something, and our job, I like to say, is to be able to know what those things are and what does the Word of God say about it. We want to help you with that, to try to find meaning in the mess of our lives and try to find a way for you to go forward, continuing to grow in ways and means that will feed you spiritually as well as socially. So we're at the end for today. We ask you to like, share, subscribe, get some conversations going with your own family and your friends about the Pixar movies. Were they really preaching the gospel this whole time and we missed it? So
if Shadow can put down the math book sometime, he might join us.
Who's that?
I said if Shadow can put down his math book, he'll probably join us.
Yeah.
We'd love it. We want to start adding people to this discussion as we move forward and try to grow our community as we move forward as well. So like, share, subscribe. We really appreciate it. It would go a long way. My name is Delroy Brooks. I am on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter as the Youth Pastor, DAYUFPASTA, whatever platform you're on.
And Snapchat and High Five. He's
Okay.
even on Black Planet.
Mike, I want to tell the people how to find you.
MySpace. I'm just on Instagram at hiding_in_a_dumpster. It's a Fortnite reference. If you play the video game, it'll make sense.
Oh, okay. I get it.
All right. And Brother Ken, how can the people find you?
Hey, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. What's his thing? Twitch. All at Star Fox Trinity. One word. And come through and keep chopping it up with us. Legit.
All right. We appreciate your time today, guys. This was
Twitter
an awesome conversation. We might bring it back next week. We'll see if we get some good questions and things that we can reflect on and talk about again. But it was fun. Everybody else, have a great day, and we'll see you in 7 days. Bye.